This is the bear crawl and the 3 variations that we program. Positioning is going to be based off of the extreme slow bear crawl position hold. So I highly encourage you to get familiar with that input and the fatiguing process that occurs there prior to moving on to any of these variations. So the first one we have here is front back, which you see here is a very robotic pace. It's a good way to start out so you really hone in the cross crawl position. But once you hone that in and figure it out, add some fluidity to your bear crawl. Let the spine move, let the hips move, feel how the shoulders rotate as you step and place them forward. Put your fingerprint on this. There isn't a necessarily right way to bear crawl or to move for that matter. Again, if you have to get robotic as shown here, that's totally understandable. But once you hone that in, add some fluidity, add some freedom. One of the biggest cues that I talk about with the bear crawl variation is to move as animalistic, as cat-like as you possibly can. For the next variation, we have lateral bear crawl. This is a little bit tricky as it's not necessarily innate. You don't see a lot of animals moving in this lateral-like fashion, but it's really, really good for challenging the shoulder complex, the spine, and the hips. Again, if you have to move in a robotic fashion early on so you hone in the cross crawl and develop the strength for this, totally understandable. Once that's dialed in, start adding some fluidity, adding some freedom into your movement. Something to look out for all 3 of these variations, form-wise. You want to make sure the knees are barely hovering over the ground. As you begin to fatigue, a compensation pattern that happens is the ass shoots up towards the air and you create space from knee to the ground. So as long as your knees are barely hovering over the ground, you'll know you're in a nice, somewhat neutral spinal position. For this last variation, we have infinity crawls. This is a fantastic input that challenges the brain. It's very neurological. One, you're getting the cross crawl action, but the figure 8, the infinity symbol or the patterning, lights up all hemispheres of the brain. It's a very, very good challenge. One thing I'm focusing on here is I'm keeping my eyes up on the horizon, looking towards the direction that I'm headed. This just puts my spine in an ideal position and it forces that extension. Again, moving as cat-like as possible, very fluid, very slow, very controlled, owning that cross crawl.